All right, this is the group Wing It for IST 618 Spring 2016. My name is Michael Lewis. My partners are Robert Cavallo and Andrew McClurry. Next slide. All right, a little background on our bill. We picked the South African Cyber Crimes Bill. South Africa right now is the #1 for cyber crimes in the world. The 2014 report showed that South Africa not only had more cyber attacks than any other country on the continent, but 69% of its citizens have been victims of some type of cyber crime. This is kind of prevalent in most of our readings and research that we did for this subject, that not only were the citizens not necessarily confident in their government, but definitely were not confident in any kind of judicial or prosecutory power that the government had. Next slide. A couple of the bill's objectives. The biggest thing was to align South Africa with the global war on cyber criminals. And part of the issue is that when one country does not have rules in place or prosecute criminals as other countries would, it definitely affects them monetarily when businesses are looking to invest in that country or bring investments toward that country. So one of the things that was pushed forward was to strengthen the intelligence collection and investigation, prosecution, and judicial processes. So with the original bill that came out in 2002, there were no teeth in the bill to prosecute people for committing cyber crimes. So that's when they came out with the new cyber crimes bill, where they had quite a few provisions in the bill to go after criminals. And it was comprehensive because it looked at the government as a whole to create a solution for everyone to participate in what was going on. They were looking at the public-private partnerships and implementing a plan for the future that was comprehensive. Next slide.
So one of the main arguments for the bill, as we mentioned, is bringing South Africa in line with the rest of the world with the fight against cybercrime. Also, as we mentioned, South Africa is the #1 aim for cybercrime, not only in Africa, but throughout the world. And this partially because of their lack of a centralized and focused cybercrime bill. Also, South Africa and the United Nations has set out that protection from crime is a basic right for humans, and the UN Congress on Crime Prevention and Criminal Justice set out specifically to fight cybercrime. International cooperation is needed. In light of that, there was the Budapest Convention in 2001, and this stipulated that an acceptance to international cooperation. Notably, South Africa ratified this convention, but did not sign it into law in 2001. The Budapest Convention has served as a guideline for countries who are adopting new cybercrime bills, but also for other countries who've had cybercrime bills on the books to adjust to come in line with the other countries who have signed and ratified the Budapest Convention. And it's important for these countries to be in sync with each other so they can effectively fight cybercrime across borders.
All right, so we'll talk a little bit about the seriousness of South Africa and how they take cybercrime. Again, I mentioned before the political and global implications for not having rules and not having something to try to fight criminals. The biggest thing is the legislation and the cooperation with other countries globally is what's going to really affect what happens with South Africa as the rest of the world looks at them. Socially, there's been some issues because of privacy issues, which we've talked about in class also. A lot of people feel like they're giving up rights because within the bill itself, it gives the government certain leeway to record and go after certain people. So it's not widely accepted within the country right now. Some other provisions of the bill also are some racial issues. So again, they're 20 years out of apartheid. So within the bill, it's illegal to sell anything that's racially insensitive or anything that promotes hatred within the country. So you can actually be prosecuted within the country for selling anything on the internet that will promote that. Also, what they're trying to do is educate the citizens of the country. So here in the U.S., work in cybersecurity, we always say the toughest nut to screw down is the one behind the keyboard. And within the country itself, people just need to be educated, and that's part of their collaborative effort, the partnership with other companies, and also you have to educate, like I said, down to the citizen level. Economics, again, we already talked about how that is countries don't want to necessarily invest or bring their companies into South Africa if they're going to have their intellectual property stolen, and there's nothing that you can do about it. So one of the things that they do is they're trying to push forward with some of the rules and laws to cooperate with other countries if there's cross-border issues with somebody stealing property. Next slide.
So, what are the impacts that this bill will have in the economy? Is that South Africa's economy is struggling at the moment. It's currently controlled by the African National Congress, and South Africa is the second largest economy, one of the large world's producers of exporters of gold and platinum. But again, the economy is it's struggling, and the unemployment rate is estimated to be around 40%. So this bill will help stop some of the crime that's associated with, someone laundering money or stealing money from a business. And with the passing of the bill, they will have an advantage of stopping this type of crime. Next slide.
So we have several recommendations that we outlined here. So we recommend that they adopt a bill based on debate and feedback on this current bill. It shouldn't be taken as verbatim, specifically because the sensitivity within the country, they are only 22 years out from apartheid, and people are very nervous to relinquish any power to the government or to approve any kind of surveillance that could be taking place on the citizenry. They're very nervous about that, about the restrictions on the media that it may take place. They certainly want to continue to have an open government and an open democracy.
One of the other things that needed to be, I guess, addressed in the bill itself is also what is considered critical data. This is just one of the things in the bill. As we did research and we found out, is my data on my computer considered critical data, or is government data considered critical data? So there needs to be some clarification within the bill that talks about that. That's one among many things. Also, the national security level issues. So there's some things that can be done at the individual level, some that can be done at a company or ISP level, and those things kind of need to be left there. They don't necessarily need to be all the way up to the government. I want to say that when I was doing research, it said that South Africa had lost almost $375 million. I'm sorry, $5 billion annually to cybercrime. So, anything that they can do in the bill to help stave off some of the losses that not only citizens but banks are losing will be a great help to the economy and to the country as a whole. And this concludes our brief on the South African cybercrimes bill.